Seattle, Washington, November 12th, 1978. The Kingdom, 8:52 p.m. Bob Marley watched in stunned disbelief as a paralyzed woman in section 217 suddenly shot up from her wheelchair screaming, "My legs are moving! Oh my God, my legs are moving!" 22,000 people went silent. Her feet began tapping to get up, stand up for the first time in 4 years. Bob stopped singing mid-verse, his dreadlocks swaying as he pointed directly at her with trembling hands. He knew with absolute certainty that he was witnessing a miracle in real time. The next 19 minutes would either prove that music could literally heal broken bodies or expose him as a fool in front of the entire Pacific Northwest. What happened when Bob brought Elena Rodriguez onto that stage would shatter every medical certainty her doctors believed and prove that sometimes faith channeled through rhythm is more powerful than any medicine science has ever created. Bob had felt something crackling in the air the instant he walked onto the Kingdom stage. That electric sixth sense warned him Yah had orchestrated something extraordinary tonight, something that would test everything Bob believed about music's power to literally change physical reality. The crowd of 22,000 was massive and hungry for reggae, but Bob's spiritual radar detected something else underneath the excitement. A thread of desperate hope pulled at his consciousness, a scream only he could hear. He opened with positive vibration, watching the crowd transform into one breathing organism. Bob always loved this moment when music dissolved all barriers, when 22,000 individuals became one unified soul moving to reggae's heartbeat. He moved through exodus and jamming with fierce intensity, but part of his mind stayed alert, waiting for whatever Jah wanted him to see. When he introduced Get Up, Stand Up, Bob's scalp tingled with recognition. "This next song is for everyone who's ever been told they can't," Bob said. The words flowed from somewhere beyond conscious thought. And that's when he saw her, section 217, row 5. A woman in a wheelchair whose face suddenly transformed from resignation to absolute shock. She was staring down at her own legs, legs that were moving for the first time in 4 years. The opening chords rang out, and 22,000 voices joined Bob's. But Bob lasered his full attention on the woman now. He watched her grab the wheelchair armrest with white knuckles, watched her try to stand, rising 6 inches before collapsing back. Bob made the decision that would either define his legend or destroy his credibility forever. He stopped singing mid-verse, silenced the band with one raised hand, brought 22,000 confused people to absolute silence. "Wait," Bob commanded, his voice carrying supernatural authority through the arena. "You, in the wheelchair, I saw what just happened to you. I saw your legs move. Bring her to me. Now." Security guards exchanged uncertain glances. This wasn't protocol. This wasn't in any manual. But Bob's blazing intensity made them move without questioning. While they worked through the crowd towards section 217, Bob turned to his band. His eyes were on fire with spiritual purpose. "Listen to me carefully," Bob said, his voice low but commanding. "We're going to channel everything we have into helping this woman stand. Every bit of energy, every bit of faith, every bit of love. This is why Jay made us musicians. Not for fame, not for money, for this moment right here. Everything we've done has led to this." His band members nodded, recognizing the look Bob got when something transcendent was about to happen. They'd seen it before at the One Love Peace concert, when Bob had forced warring politicians to shake hands and stop a civil war. That same intensity radiated from him now. When security wheeled Elena Rodriguez toward the stage, Bob knelt at the edge. He made himself small and approachable despite being the center of attention. He reached down to take her trembling hands. The moment their skin touched, Bob felt electricity flow between them. "What's your name, sister?" Bob asked, his voice gentle but focused. "Elena Rodriguez." "Lena," Bob repeated, letting her name settle in his consciousness. "Tell me, how long have you been in that wheelchair?" 4 years, Elena said through tears. "Motorcycle accident. Complete spinal cord damage at L1. They said I'd never walk again. They said it was permanent." Bob's eyes locked onto hers with laser intensity. "But your legs just moved, didn't they?" "I saw them from the stage. Everyone saw them. Your body is remembering what doctors said it forgot. Elena nodded, unable to speak, overwhelmed by what was happening. Will you trust me? Bob asked. Will you trust me to help you stand in front of all these people? Will you risk looking foolish if we fail? Because I'm telling you right now, we're not going to fail. Your body is ready even if your mind doesn't believe it yet. Elena stared at Bob's face. She saw absolute conviction burning in his eyes. Not hope, not wishful thinking, complete certainty that she would stand. Yes, she whispered. I trust you. Security guards lifted Elena onto the stage with careful reverence. They could sense they were participating in something sacred. Bob took her hands firmly, grounding her. He helped her stand on legs that shook like earthquake aftershocks. The entire kingdom held its breath. 22,000 people, completely silent, witnessing. Bob could feel its Elena's terror and hope warring in her body, could feel how her mind kept screaming that this was impossible, even as her legs struggled to respond. Listen to me, Bob said softly, speaking only to Elena, though thousands watched. Don't think about standing. Don't think about walking. Don't let your mind interfere with what your body wants to do. Just feel the music. Let it move through your spine like electricity. Your body knows what to do if your mind stops blocking it. He turned to his band, his face showing the fierce determination of a man on a divine mission. Get up, stand up from the top, slower than we've ever played it, more deliberate. Pour every ounce of energy you have into this woman's legs. Make the music a command her body can't refuse. The music began, slower, heavier, more intentional than Bob had ever sung it. Each note carried weight and purpose. Bob sang directly to Elena, his voice becoming a lifeline. Get up, stand up for your rights. As he sang, Bob focused every bit of consciousness he had toward Elena's legs. He visualized nerves reconnecting, imagined her spine healing, believed with fanatic intensity that healing was happening right now in this exact moment. Bob had learned through years of experience that intention matters. That focused belief can literally reshape reality. He'd seen it happen before in smaller sections, seen his music stop violence, heal emotional wounds, bring hope to the hopeless. But this was different. This was physical healing happening in real time. This was the universe bending to accommodate human need. And then Bob felt it. That shift in the air that happened when impossible became possible. Elena's right foot lifted from the stage floor. Just an inch, but unmistakably deliberate. Not a spasm, not a twitch. Controlled movement. Then her left foot lifted. She was shifting weight from one leg to the other. Tiny movements, but movements nonetheless. Her paralyzed legs were somehow supporting weight they weren't supposed to support. That's it, Bob said, his voice thick with emotion and triumph. You're doing it, Elena. You're standing. Your body remembers. It never forgot. It just needed permission to remember. Bob started moving gently to the rhythm, still gripping Elena's hands, and Elena moved with him, swaying slightly, dancing without quite dancing. Her body responding to music and Bob's focused intention and 22,000 people channeling their collective hope toward one woman's miracle. Bob looked out at the crowd, saw thousands of people crying, saw faces transformed by witnessing something that defied every scientific certainty. You see this? Bob said to them, his voice carrying to every corner of the massive arena. This is what the song really means. Get up, stand up, not just with your body, but with your spirit, with your will, with your absolute refusal to accept limitations others try to impose on you. He looked back at Elena, whose face glowed with joy and disbelief. Elena stood up tonight. She stood up for herself, for her life, for her future. She just told medical science it was wrong, and nobody can ever take this moment away from her. The crowd erupted, not applause, but something deeper. A roar of collective witnessing, of 22,000 people knowing they'd just seen something that would change how they understood reality. Some were screaming, others were praying, everyone was crying. Bob kept Elena standing for another full minute. Let her body remember what it felt like. Let her mind accept that this was real. Then when he felt her legs beginning to give out, he caught her, lowered her gently back into the wheelchair with the security guard's help. But Elena's face had transformed completely. She was glowing with impossible knowledge. Bob knelt beside her one final time. He gripped both her hands with desperate intensity. His face was inches from hers. "Elena, listen to me very carefully," Bob said with prophetic authority. "Your body just proved it can do what doctors declared impossible. But this is just the beginning. The hard part starts now. You're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. You're going to hurt. You're going to doubt. Doctors are going to tell you this was temporary, that it won't last, but every time doubt comes, every time pain comes, you remember this moment. You remember that 22,000 people just watched you stand. That's not imagination. That's not wishful thinking. That's reality. Your new reality. Promise me you'll fight for it every single day." "I promise," Elena whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I promise I'll fight." "Good," Bob said firmly, "because I'm going to check on you. This isn't goodbye. I'm going to make sure you keep fighting." The applause continued for another 7 minutes. Bob performed 3 more songs, but the energy had changed. Everyone in the kingdom knew they'd witnessed something beyond entertainment, something sacred, something that would be talked about for decades. After the concert, backstage in the concrete corridors, Bob did something his tour manager said was impossible. He spent 45 minutes with Elena and her friend Iris, really talking, really listening. Bob asked about Elena's accident, her life before, her dreams for the future. He told her about his mother's death, about how he'd learned that life isn't measured in years, but in moments of real transformation. Before Elena left, Bob handed her a cassette tape. "This is tonight's performance. Private recording just for you. When doctors tell you recovery is impossible, when pain makes you want to quit, you play this tape. You remember what happened tonight. Music is medicine, Elena. Real medicine. Your body just proved it to 22,000 witnesses." Then Bob did something even more unexpected. He wrote down his tour manager's phone number. "You call this number once a week. Leave updates on your progress. My assistant will relay them to me. I meant what I said. I'm going to make sure you keep fighting." Over the following weeks, Bob's assistant called Elena regularly. Bob wanted detailed updates. When Elena's neurologist, Dr. Matthews, examined her 3 days later, his face went pale. "You have motor function," he said, his voice shaking. "Significant motor function that wasn't there 2 months ago. This doesn't make medical sense." "It came back at the Bob Marley concert," Elena explained, "when he sang Get Up, Stand Up." Dr. Matthews shook his head in disbelief. "Your MRI showed complete spinal cord damage at L1. You shouldn't be able to move your legs at all. Either our original diagnosis was wrong or something has changed that I can't explain. But if you have motor function returning, we need aggressive physical therapy immediately." When Bob heard this news, he sent Elena a handwritten letter. "I told you, your body remembers. Music is medicine. The healing has started, but you have to honor it with work. Fight every single day." For the next 20 months, Elena worked with brutal intensity. Physical therapy 6 days a week, 4 hours each day. The pain was constant and exhausting. Progress was measured in millimeters. There were days she wanted to quit, days when doctors said she'd reached her maximum recovery, days when her body screamed that it couldn't do more. But every time doubt crept in, Elena played Bob's cassette. She heard his voice singing Get Up, Stand Up. She remembered standing on that stage. She remembered Bob's fierce conviction that she would walk again. She remembered her promise. Bob called her twice during those months. Once after 6 months when her progress had plateaued. "Your body is testing your faith," Bob told her. "Push through. The breakthrough is coming." Once after a year when she'd graduated from Walker to cane. "I knew you would do it," Bob said simply. "I knew it the moment I saw you in that wheelchair. Keep going." Slowly, impossibly, Elena relearned to walk. First with a walker supporting most of her weight, then with a cane for balance, then, 2.5 years after that Seattle concert, with nothing at all. She walked on her own 2 legs, legs that doctors had declared permanently dead. When Bob Marley died on May 11, 1981, Elena was walking without assistance. She'd outlived every medical prediction by years. She attended his memorial service in Seattle, When they played Get Up, Stand Up, she stood and danced. Really danced for the first time in 5 years. She wept for the man who'd refused to accept that healing had limits. The man who'd stopped his concert to witness her miracle and help it happen. Elena Rodriguez became a physical therapist, specializing in spinal cord injuries. She opened her own practice in 1986. In her waiting room, she played Bob Marley's music constantly. Get Up, Stand Up on repeat. Patients would ask why reggae, why this song specifically. Elena would tell them about November 12th, 1978, about sitting in a wheelchair at the Kingdom thinking her life was over, about her legs moving for the first time in 4 years, about Bob Marley helping her stand in front of 22,000 witnesses. Music saved my life, Elena would say. Not metaphorically, literally. Bob understood something doctors don't learn in medical school. Healing isn't just physical, it's spiritual, it's energetic. It's about believing in impossible things with enough intensity that they become possible. Over 35 years, Elena helped over 600 patients with spinal cord injuries. Not all of them walked again, but many made progress their doctor said was impossible. Elena always used music as medicine, always credited Bob Marley's absolute faith as the catalyst for her healing. Today, Elena Rodriguez is 72 years old. She still walks every day. She still dances to reggae. Every year on November 12th, she plays Get Up, Stand Up, and remembers. In her office hangs a photograph taken by a concert attendee. Bob Marley holding her hands on stage, her legs shaking but supporting her weight, both bathed in golden light. Underneath, a plaque with Bob's words, "Your body is remembering, keep fighting." Elena kept fighting, and she won. Not because medicine cured her, but because Bob Marley channeled something that night that went beyond medicine. He focused 22,000 people's energy into her broken spine. He believed so completely that her body had no choice but to respond. He proved that music isn't just entertainment, it's medicine. And faith channeled through rhythm can literally restructure physical reality. That's what made Bob Marley legendary. Not just the songs, the healing, the absolute certainty that impossible was just possibility waiting for someone brave enough to believe.